Today we are going to be running here at Donington Park GP. And as the standings currently look, coming out of an amazing race last week at Silverstone International, we now have two people tied up for first place for the lead of the championship, being last week's winner MRT Boris and the previous winner of round 1, FPR Crave 78. Both extremely talented drivers, both who put on a great show at the race last week. Coming in for third for the final podium position within the series, you do have Smithies bringing in 25 points, followed by DOA Silty in fourth with 20, and C5WNE only 1 point behind him in fifth after an amazing battle at the end of the race. We have no category for this. Very interesting. I'm not sure why that is. Hopefully that will fix things there. Let us go ahead and get this link out. There we go. Now we have the stream out for everyone to check up. That way everyone can get in here, look at the action that is going on track, and we are now getting to qualifying here. So it is going to be the same format that we saw last week, a 10-minute quali followed by a quick break in between rounds, leading into a 20-minute race around this track. Probably, I would say on this track, the two biggest corners that you're going to want to watch out for when it comes to these drivers would be turns 4 right there, as you can see at the end of Sector 1, and then turn 7 right there towards the end of Sector 2. Both of those being medium speed corners off of a slow down zone, off of a bit of a braking zone. It could be very easy to see drivers get their cars unsettled there. Let us go ahead and find a driver to jump on here with as they start moving out for their flying laps. We are currently on board with FGTR Maverick. Let us get onto roof cam for him. You can see here coming up you can see him coming up to turn 4 right now. Again, one of the turns to watch out for that could be an easy place to get these cars unsettled through the double left-hander of 5 and 6 up to a quick braking zone for turn 7. The other extremely dangerous place for these cars on this track. Turn 8 could be a bit of a problem, but it's easier to keep some momentum through there. But you can see a right-hander with a bit of a braking zone coming off the crest of a hill. So we could very easily see cars get unsettled there and potentially see drivers begin to lose the back end as they try and go through there. A hard braking zone for chicanes 9 and 10. Not the easiest to try and make your way through in these cars. We can see someone up there ahead of him on track. I believe that may be DOA Silty, although I'm not entirely sure as no times have come through. But someone going a little wide on the penultimate hairpin. And all the drivers are going to start coming through to get onto track for the first time. And no, that was not Silty that we were watching, but we can see Silty here on track. Oh, and you can see someone with a bit of a spin off there. Let us see if we can find who that was. That may have been Colesbro, who had a bit of a spin off there. I believe it was. Yes. That is one of the things you need to watch out for in this race is curbs. Going through them at a high enough speed, that back end can get very easily unsettled. As we can see there, Silty a little wide on exit and winds up spinning off. He is going to go back to the pit lane and go out and try again. Right now we have Smithies coming in with provisional pole, a 158, but that is quickly taken away from him by Boris, who set a 143 and returned to pit lane. And Crave 78 coming in about 5/10 behind Boris, a 143.6. However, it does look like he may get caught up in a bit of a battle here with another driver. No, Boris is able to cleanly get through there. Oh, and there we go, losing the back end. A bit of a slide there on turn 4. That is what I was talking about. It is very easy to unsettle the car and get that back end rotating more than you would want to, just because of the way that turn works. And we see a bit of it again there on turn 7. Will we have a repeat for turn 8? No, much more stable and planted through turn 8. Those slides are going to lose him a bit of time, which he needs to make up if he wants to try and get any ground back on Boris that he lost at last week's race. Let us stay on board with Crave for the remainder of this lap and see if he is able to better this at all. A bit of a slide going through the final turn, but yes, he is able to better it, but not by enough. That is only going to be about a little more than 1/10.5 that he gains on his previous time. Hopping on board here with C5, you can see through the penultimate hairpin, he goes a little bit wide. I do believe that could be an invalidated lap time for him, but we will have to see. And Blade Runner coming in to best C5 on his time. We saw Blade Runner caught up in quite a few good battles last week in the race. So can we see him fight those battles again and possibly come out with a better position than he did last time? You can see a little sideways going through turn 3. Oh, and someone is off and cut through turn 4. I believe that was Boris there. That is something you need to watch out for in the race, because that will get you a slowdown warning that you have to take unless you want to get a penalty. And that could hurt the times that you get around the track and give your opponents a chance to catch up and make up some ground on you. You can see the back end of these cars seeming extremely skittish through a few of these turns. And it looks like Silty was able to outdo C5 to get up into 4th place for qualifying. C5 being dropped to 6th and Blade Runner being dropped to 5th. Smithy's also able to outdo Prave by about a 1/10 of a second there, and is currently only sitting about 2/10 off of Boris. All any of these drivers need is one solid lap, but Boris shoots back and manages to improve his time by almost half a tenth, or by almost half a second, now sitting 6/10 in front of Smithies in second. Hopping on with C5 here, we can see him very wide on those curbs and not too far back from 2 cars that are battling up ahead. We could wind up seeing, oh, and someone is off. Was that? Yes, that was Blade Runner losing the back end, snapping and spinning off to the outside of the track there. That is a rough one to take. The question is, will he have enough time to get back around and try and put in one more lap in qualifying to better his time? Oh, Smithies, now in the pits, shot back again at Boris, now within 2/10 of his current pole sitting time. However, not going to try and make any more runs. And we see Prave taking it down to 2/10 off of him as well, just about 2.5. He is right on the tail of Smithies and could be looking to take that second podium position going into this race. But our time on the clock is currently kicking to an end, only 30 seconds remaining on the clock for this qualifying session. Where will Prave come in? You can see, again, a bit of a slide there through turn 4. You will need to get used to it. That is something you are going to hear quite a bit through this event. Turns 4, turn 7, and possibly turn 8. Prave just able to keep the car planted going into turn 7, now on the run up to turn 8. Can he do the same again? Yes, he is able to. That is a very smooth run going through that extended right-hander. You can see a sign down there just on the inside of the track. Luckily, not quite on the racing line. Keep a wide exit, and it should not be a problem. We are going to sit on board here with him. I believe that may be Blade Runner that we see back there, but I'm not entirely sure. Roscoe coming in with a 1:43.8, just a second off pole, and is going to knock Silty, Blade Runner, and C5 down in positions yet again. Brave looking for his acceleration point out of the corner and coming across. Is it going to be an improvement? Yes, it is. And at the last second, Crave is going to be able to take pole by about half a tenth with a 1:42.697. 2 more drivers on track. Silty just finishing his last lap, about 1.3 seconds off of pole, and Roscoe coming through. The final driver out here on track is going to be Colesbro, currently a 1:48.0 in the bank for him. But can he improve on that time? We will have to see as it goes on. And our current leader board for qualifying is going to be FPR Crave 78 in the lead, followed by MRT Boris alongside him, and Smithies in third, with Roscoe in his row in fourth. DOA, Silty, and Blade Runner make up the third row, with C5 coming in fifth, or coming in seventh, with Hate next to him. we are going to hop on board here with Blade Runner. He is in the outside lane for this. We will have to see what he is able to do off the start of this race, if he can get any kind of good run to make up positions into turn 1. However, again, with these races, it is not won on the first lap. 20 minutes on the clock, currently ticking down. We are waiting for the lights to go green here at round 3 of the Xbox Pro Racing League Clio Cup here at Donington Park GP. If any of you would like to see the highlights from the previous round of this series, round 2, but did not manage to make the race for that or make the stream, then click the link that is coming up in stream chat right now. That will take you to my YouTube channel, where there is a race highlights video posted for that event. So afterwards, you guys can all go and check out the highlights and greatest moments from the previous round. And 20 minutes back on the clock, ticking down. We are on board with Blade Runner here in 6th. Oh, and a very good start for some people, not so good for others. We can see the run down towards turn 1. It's 3 wide, and it looks like, yes, there's some contact between Blade Runner and another driver. I'm not sure who that was. Let's try and figure that out. I do believe it may have been Silty. Not sure. You can see someone dropping back, slowing down, possibly from a slowdown warning that they received, extending or cutting tight on turn 1. And Boris already with a penalty in this race. That just shows how fine the margins are for you to be able to make mistakes. The drivers coming up through turn 7, you can see Boris managed to get the better of Crave at the start of this race, pushing him back down towards towards second place. As we saw in the last race, once Boris got a lead, he ran with it. The question is, will Crave be able to keep Boris within sight and possibly attack back? We know Boris currently has a penalty, a time penalty on him. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe he will have gotten a slowdown warning for that slight cut of the chicane through turns 9 and 10. So if Crave can just try and keep him within a distance, he could win it off of penalties alone. And Silty currently into the pits. We are going to hop back now with C5. We saw him get into many good battles in the last race for the series. Again, that was at Silverstone International. But can he repeat his performance and try to come out with a few extra positions? We saw him finish up 4th in that event. However, he has Blade Runner right on his back bumper, putting a lot of pressure on him. This is his race to give up right now. We know he has the speed and consistency to make those positions when need be, but saying that, going into turn 7, a massive slide, and that is going to let Blade Runner through on the inside. Up through 8, he manages to keep it composed and is sitting right there off the left quarter of Blade Runner. Blade Runner now looking to get a pass up on Colesbro. They are going to be side by side going into turns 9 and 10 for the chicane. C5 also getting in on that and getting the pass on Colesbro. FGTR Maverick now sitting behind him, looking to make the pass going into this hairpin. We could see a lunge to the inside, and we do. Maverick going for the lunge and just getting it done. Blade Runner very wide there through the penultimate hairpin, which allows C5 to get back through. Duke Kaboom 2, are you going to commentate Sunday? No, actually, I am one of the drivers for the series. Sadly, last week I had to miss round 1, but I am coming back in and I will be on track Sunday, so I will not be commentating the GT5 series. We can see Maverick there now trying to chase down Hate. Hate very wide through turn 4. Not a great line. If we look up further, we can now see Roscoe right there does have a penalty. So that is going to give Crave a bit of a reprieve. He has a bit more of a buffer to keep second place, although he is still struggling to try and get up and find his way around Boris. Although he is able to keep Boris within a 1/10 of a second, we are just sitting on board with C5, though, waiting to see if he is going to make a move. All of the action has been revolving around this group. And no, C5 is going to keep it tucked up. He is not going to try and make a lunge on Hate going into that chicane. Oh, and Hate very wide through the penultimate hairpin. That is going to give C5 a good run. However, Hate pulling back out to the racing line. C5 not able to make the move, just trying to hold it on through. Smithy's now picking up a penalty. Boris goes in for a pit stop. We can see him coming back out here on track. He is going to pop out just behind this group. That is going to gift Crave the lead with about a 4.6, 4.7 second buffer. We can see now C5 trying to work his way around Hate. They're going to run up through turn 4, and C5 very early on the brakes there, very gentle, but Hate not able to do the same. He is going to get extremely loose and slide through the corners, promoting C5 up to 4th place and leave him well within attacking distance of Boris. Oh, and we can see there, Hate very wide through turn 7. That is going to drop him back now 2 positions at this point, letting both Boris and Blade Runner get through. Boris is going to begin to try and hunt down C5. We know this driver has a lot of pace and a lot of talent in these cars, so I would not doubt that he is able to get through. But the question is, how quickly can he get the move done? We can see Smithy's running currently about a second off of Roscoe. Again, C5 doing very good in 4th place, where he finished up at last week. But he has also now picked up a time penalty. You can see a lot of the top drivers picking up penalties, pushing these cars as hard as they can go. Roscoe and Smithy's now beginning to lower the gap and close up the gap between them and the current leader. Oh, and Boris is going to collide into C5, going for a move through turn 1. That is going to leave both of them off track in the sand and losing a lot of positions. That was a bad one. That is going to hurt both of their races quite a bit, and you know C5 cannot be happy about that. We're going to hop on board here now with Maverick, who is right behind C5. C5 again taken off track at turn 1 by MRT Boris, who slammed into the side of him trying to get a better run through the corner and caused both of them to spin off track onto the gravel, dropping them from 4th and 5th to 8th and 9th on track. Both of the drivers beginning to pull away from Maverick. It does not look like he will be able to get up there to try and fight them for position. Oh, you can see C5 up ahead really pushing, trying to get that position back from Boris. Again, that was a very bad way to have lost that position. Not only losing 4th and dropping to 5th, but also dropping all the way back down to 9th. Losing 4 extra positions on top of it. You can tell C5 may have not had the same qualifying time as Boris, but currently he is keeping the MRT driver within spitting distance, waiting for the chance to make a move. We've seen that Boris has been making some mistakes this week, so we could possibly see C5 try and take the fight back to him. But for now, we are going to hop on board with Smithies, who is currently trying to chase down Roscoe. Again, Crave in first down the road. It does not look like they are making up much ground to him anymore, but they are busy trying to focus on each other. Let us hop back here. It looks like we have a bit of a four-way battle. C5 beginning to drop off of Boris, but Boris coming up on Colesbro and Silty. Colesbro going very defensive to the inside of the last hairpin. Boris will not be able to get that position off of him. However, he is set up for the inside of turn 1. You can see taking it much easier than he did when attacking C5, trying to not make a repeat of that mistake. That will see him upgraded to 7th place. C5 now sitting behind Colesbro, trying to find his way past Colesbro. A little bit of a slide going into turn 4. That gave C5 a good run on him, but also had to hold back so that he didn't go into the back of Colesbro, who managed to get his car down to apex. We now hop back on board with Boris, who is trying to chase down Silty. Again, you can see in the background there, C5 trying to get back up to Boris. And Colesbro beginning to fall back off of both of them. Maverick just trying to find a run to chase down either of them. Silty and Boris very aggressive through the chicane. Boris took to the outside, cut back to the inside. However, we see Silty go defensive to the inside at the last second, and he is not going to let Boris try and make a move. If we hop on board here with Boris, you can see him trying to find any way to make a move to get past Silty. He knows he is not going to make it back up to first, or odds are even a podium at this point, but trying to do damage limitation to keep Crave from getting too many points on him. And Silty is very wide through turn 1. He is going to be off the track, so Boris is easily going to slide up into 6th place. Staying on board now with Silty, we can see sliding through turn 4, that almost ending very badly, and we have Blade Runner off the track. I could not tell if there was contact there or if it was just driver error, but that is going to put Boris up into 5th place. We can see C5 now just down the road a little bit from Blade Runner. Blade Runner now looking at Silty in front of him. He is going to be trying to figure out how to get up there and attack to try and get those positions back. You can see as we are entering the final quarter of this race, the lights on these cars starting to come on as the sun is going down. And C5 late into braking, that will see him right on the back of Blade Runner as they are making apex, but loses the distance on exit. Blade Runner trying to stick up with Silty, just not able to find the speed in his car currently, though. We are going to see C5 slowly closing down to him. Boris now in 4th place. We can see Silty coming up to the back of Hate. C5 a little unsettling of the car going through turn 1. That is going to drop him back further away from Blade Runner. We are going to hop on board here with Silty. We can see Boris beginning to pull away from Hate. However, still an almost 10 sec or a little over a 10-second gap from Smithies in 3rd. You can see Silty trying to keep the car smooth and under control just long enough to get that 5th place away from Hate. He is not that far down the road from him, so we could potentially see an attack here in the dying few minutes, the dying few laps of this event. You can see behind them Blade Runner and C5. C5 not looking to make any grand moves yet, and Blade Runner a little wide out onto the outside curb to the penultimate hairpin. That is going to leave his car unsettled and give C5 a chance to make up some more time. Then Blade Runner very wide through the final hairpin, and C5 is going to go into the side of him, almost taking both of them off track. C5 almost having a repeat of what Boris did to him. But that will see C5 promoted up into 5th place, and with Blade Runner also having a penalty, that will be a bit of a comfort on C5, who doesn't have to worry about pulling as much of a gap to try and keep his position. Hopping back on board, you can see Silty holding his position there with Hate, not able to make up any ground to try and get that position off of him. Oh, and hopping back, we can see Blade Runner able to get 7th place back off of C5 as they are going through turn 7. C5 going to have to try and find a way to attack Blade Runner yet again to get that position. Oh, and Blade Runner extremely unsettled through the chicane. That is going to leave him cutting a little bit and give C5 that position back. We can see a constant shuffle between these two drivers trying to outdo one another. Both of them a little wide out, straddling the curb on the exit of the penultimate hairpin, but neither driver losing control. Blade Runner looking for a good exit off of the final hairpin, tucking it a little bit tighter into apex. But he does not get the run that he needs. He is going to have to be behind C5 at the start of this next lap. We will stick on with these two drivers for this next portion of the lap and see what happens. Then we will hop back up to Silty to see how he is doing. And it looks like C5 will safely keep that 7th place position through this portion of the lap. Again, sitting on board with Silty, looking for any way to try and get up to that, or up to 8, to get that 5th place on track. Hard into the braking zone. That is going to leave him very loose, though. He is going to cut the chicane a little bit, be extremely slow going through the exit of it. And that is going to lose him time yet again. Hopping on board here with Crave, we can see him halfway through the lap. This is going to be his final lap in this race. Currently, Roscoe 7 seconds back from him, and Smithy's 18 seconds back from him. Although Roscoe plummeting in time, Roscoe wound up finding himself off track there. Smithy's catching back up to Roscoe now. We could see Smithy's making a last-second move to try and get that second podium position from Roscoe. We can see him running up to the chicane. Smithy staying very wide. Roscoe going defensive. And Crave now coming up through the final corner. On the last straight stretch, you can see him flashing those lights in celebration. Crave is going to come through to win round 3 of the Xbox Pro League Clio Cup. Roscoe defensive into the final hairpin. It looks like he will just be able to keep second place after that disastrous off that he had. He goes to the outside. Smithy's cuts to the inside, but Roscoe just able to keep the position in a drag race to the line. Boris coming through in a hard-fought, recovered second. Silty will be bringing home 5th, but it is going to go to 6th with on-track penalties. Haight just able to hold on long enough. C5 bringing home 7th, with Blade Runner coming in 8th. Goldsboro coming down for 9th. Maverick behind him in 10th. And we can see Gamer coming through the final chicane there. He will be bringing up the final finishing position in this race. I would like to give a congratulations to all the drivers who participated. You can see Gamer, again, a celebratory flashing of the lights. RX F1, unfortunately, not able to make the race. So that is going to drop him on points a little bit. He was currently in 7th on the standings, but there's no telling where he is going to be. Same thing with C5, again, who suffered A very disastrous off with some assistance from MRT. Boris getting a little over eager through turn 1 there. However, that does mean that FPR Crave 78 will easily be able to take back the lead in the standings, and Smithies can start making a bit of a dent up into the gap that Boris has on him.